Okay. My name, according to my birth certificate, is a Brandon. It's got an A in front of Brandon. It's like Brandon, you know. It's got an A or AR or something like that in front of the word Brandon, you know. And I'm not gonna waste a lot of time with the name because see, I have a marriage license. And according to my marriage license, you know, the way it was explained to me, you know, over the weekend, they said when you have a marriage license, it's evidence that I am supposed to have a marriage. And we're like, what do you mean by a marriage? I'm supposed to be the husband, and she is supposed to be the wife. And who is she? The person is supposed to be the wife. Someone did marriage fraud and used the name April Williams, and they pretended to be April Williams. They pretended to be my wife, and they are not my wife. Whoever it was that pretended, you know, they used a name. April Williams is the name that they used. So I'm not sure if the name of my wife is April Williams or if April Williams is just a name that people used on a marriage license. And I don't know how many times I was sexually abused before April 30th, 2004, after April 30th, 2004, and on April 30th, 2004. Because April 30th, 2004 is the date of the marriage license. So since I am me, a Brandon, and I know myself and I know who I am, I feel like I think that people sexually abused me and I did not know it. And I don't like it, you know. It doesn't matter how big the boobs are or what a person feels if they're sexy or not. It doesn't matter. If you were the sexiest person in the world and you were not my wife and you was having sex with me and you was using the name April Williams in a marriage license and my marriage license, whether it was before April 30th, 2004 or after April 30th, 2004 or on April 30th, 2004, it's sex abuse, you know, if you was playing games, because I was never playing a game with my identity, you know, not with my marriage license. I never used, you know, another person's marriage license as if I was someone else's husband and tried to have sex with them or actually had sex with them. You know, those are crimes, is what I was told, you know. They say when you have a marriage license, it's evidence of a marriage and that I am supposed to be married and that my wife is supposed to be with me. And it's like, who is your wife? My wife is a person that's supposed to be my wife and not another person's wife. If a person says she's someone else's wife, if she says she's someone else's wife, then she's not my wife and I don't want her anyway. If she says she's someone else's husband, you know, because people want to change their gender, then I don't want her or him or whatever it is anyway. Because I am the husband and she is the wife, you know, that way. They say, you know, someone abused me because they say slavery is a choice. When I said that I was supposed to be a husband and I had a marriage license on April 30th, 2004, I don't know if it was the same girl or a twin or someone, whether it was before or after April 30th, 2004, but someone else wanted to be in a family court. They say when you're married, you have a marriage license because it's evidence of a marriage and that you are married. But when you say you're a family, you don't get a family license. You don't really get anything for being a family. There's no benefit in being a family. You don't get a piece of paper that says a family license with everyone in the family's name on it. No. It's like it's worth less. And the way it was explained to me, it was like a family is worth less than a marriage. It's like some people say you draw a line down the middle of the page. Some people chose to be married and they called it their truth and they called it their faith. And you never give up your truth and you never give up your faith. meaning you never give up your marriage, even if you don't know where your spouse is. So wife, if you're out there, my spouse, my wife, I did not give up my truth. I did not give up my faith. I did not give up my marriage. I have a marriage license. It's not my fault if someone else was sexually abusing me and using the name April Williams and pretended or falsely claimed as if they were my wife, and they are not my wife. You know, the paperwork shows that a marriage license is evidence of a marriage. So I'm not sure, you know, because it's not good to be a know-it-all. And since it's not good to be a know-it-all, I'm not trying to be bad. So since they say it's not good to be a know-it-all, and I'm not sure if you're a pastor or a preacher or if you're not, I'm not in a Bible competition, so there's no reason to compete with me. I'm not a courtroom judge or a courtroom lawyer, so there's no reason to try to compete with me. I'm not in a competition, because if it's my body and my choice, they say I don't have to go to a family court and I don't have to compete. I'm not challenging anyone. I did not dare anyone, and I did not challenge anyone to a fight or a contest or any of that. I am just a witness of what I think, of what I hear, whether it was voices inside or outside or people or beings, whatever they call themselves. But I was sexually abused, and it's a lot of information, you know. They say people killed the people and murdered the people, and some people tried to blame me for it, and I was told, nope, I am not the one to blame, because it was explained to me there was a Bible story. And remember, this is not a Bible competition, so I don't need any extra videos or anyone trying to tell me that a competition of interpretation of the Bible, because I'm not here for a competition of interpretation of the Bible. The way it was already explained to me, they say David, according to a Bible story, a particular David set up a person named Uriah and had him murdered. He told them when to do it during the war. He set up a war in a time, in a place, and he told them how to do it. He said in the heat of the moment, in the middle of the war, at the height of the battle. You know, these may not be the exact words, but it's what it means to me. So they said, set up a war. And while all of the fussing and fighting and war and all of the chaos is going on, leave Uriah by himself on the battlefield to be killed. And since David set up and arranged the war, he was guilty of being the murderer, is the way it was explained to me, because it was his idea. It was David's idea to have a person killed as a casualty of a war. And the way it was explained, the casualty of a war, I mean, they had Uriah caught in the crossfire. So it's like if it was two sides and they were shooting on this side and they were shooting on that side, and they put Uriah in the middle to be killed because David wanted Uriah to die so that David can have sex with someone else's wife. It's the way the story was told to me. So I was told that I never did any of those types of situations, whether it was a man or a woman or a child. Even if they said I said the word kill, they said, did he tell you when to kill anyone? A Brandon, did you tell anyone when to kill someone? No. A Brandon, did you tell anyone where to kill anyone? No. A Brandon, did you tell anyone how to kill anyone? No. Did you point out a target? No. So it was like, it was not for me. You cannot blame me, because just like in a courtroom, when there's, you know, a court date for a murder, they would give you a time, a date, a place in a certain room, a certain courtroom to meet them in. They say those are how dates and appointments are set. It's the way it was explained to me. So I'm not sure if it works differently in other places, but they said that they would say in courtroom B or in courtroom C at 1 o'clock. at 2 o'clock on a certain date. So it was like, I never told a man or a woman or a child on a certain date at a certain place using this gun or this knife or that knife. So if a person killed anyone, it was not for me, because they said if it was for me, a person would have said, hey, Brandon, they're going to go kill somebody. How do you or Brandon want them to do it? No one ever said, hey, Brandon, how do you want them to kill those people? So it was never for me. They did what they wanted to do for reasons I do not understand, because it's not good to be a know-it-all. Because since I was not there and they did not ask for me, how did I want it to be did? There's no evidence that I ever wanted it to be did, So, it's the same thing with sex. People say that people got emails and sex letters and from different people. Some people even say that they believe that I wrote them sex letters, but it's the same thing. Just like a court date for sexual abuse and sexual harassment in a courtroom, when there's a date set, it's supposed to say on a certain date in a certain courtroom, in courtroom B, in courtroom C, at 1 o'clock, at 2 o'clock, with a certain name judge, with a certain name on the letter, and an appointment. No one ever got any of those types of letters from me to them. Never. I never told anyone to come into my marriage bed. Never. I never used the word marriage bed. I never invited anyone into my marriage. Ever. I never did. It was all sex abuse. They don't have any emails or any letters or any recordings, because I never invited anyone into my marriage bed for sex. Those types of situations. Whether it was a prostitute, a stripper, a sex worker, or someone using the name April Williams, if she was not my wife, because they would say, what time did a Brandon tell you to get in his marriage bed? A Brandon never told anyone to get in his marriage bed, so there was no time. What date did a Brandon tell you to get in his marriage bed for sex? A Brandon never told anyone to get in his marriage bed for sex at a certain date or a certain time. So you invited yourself? That's home invasion. That's sexual abuse. It's wrong if you did that. Those types of situations. Because, it's just like going to the doctor at a doctor's appointment at a certain time on a certain date to see a certain doctor. It was like, first of all, I'm not a sex doctor. I don't do any of this stuff. I don't give relationship advice or any of that. I'm just a witness of what happened to me. So it was like, a Brandon never invited anyone into his marriage bed. He never gave anyone a date or a time or a place. I've been living in hotels for years now. Years. Paying the full rent and all of it. I never told anyone to be in my hotel room, in my marriage bed. I never told anyone a certain room, a certain date, a certain time. And I never gave my wife away to anyone else. I never told another person, any of those words, So I was told that if a person cannot say you gave them a date and a time and you told them to meet you in your marriage bed and you told them your hotel room, your address, and you told them to meet you on a certain date, and both of you verbally agreed, whether it was verbally or in writing, and you actually used the word marriage bed and you actually agreed, since I did not actually agree, I did not agree, I did not give a date, I did not give a time, I was told that I was sexually abused. Because if a person said they like your hair or they think you're cute or they think you're sexy, whether it was in an email, on a comment online, or whether it was in person or at the store or at a club or at a bar or somewhere, saying words you look cute, you look nice. It's not the same as inviting someone into your marriage bed for sex while you are married and actually using the word your marriage bed. Since I never invited anyone into my marriage bed because the invitation is not an invitation unless it has a date and a time and a place. And sometimes it would say for how long? For an hour, 2 hours, or for life is what some people say. Since I never gave a date or a time or a place, some people said, oh, Brandon was just flirting with different people. Or Brandon was just being nice to different people and telling them that they cute or they sexy and trying to make them feel good because everybody called me ugly. And since I care more about other people than I cared about myself, since I called myself ugly, I called the other people cute and fine and sexy so that they would never have to feel as ugly as I feel. So whether it was murder or whether it was sex crimes that other people did, I was told you could never blame me for it because I never gave anyone a date or a time.